I think about relationships and ending relationships. The whole thing of, oh, it's not you, it's me. That's some of the realest shit I ever wrote. That's legit. People hate it, but it's actually true. And let me help you out with this.
I love what you said about focusing on the feeling and not giving reasons. There is a temptation in the culture right now to be absolutely obsessed with knowing why, with having a laundry list of things that just give us a reason to hate ourselves and beat ourselves up for no reason. We don't need to do that. We don't need to ask for that, and we don't need to give that to somebody unprompted.
I don't know how I learned this. I think it just came to me one day, and ever since I saw this as the truth, I couldn't unsee this. And this one thing has caused so many breakups work so much better for me understanding that it literally is not about them. It is about me and my path.
This is very powerful. So if you can, just get into a seated position, like focus. Put your entire life force into what we are about to share, because if you absorb this, I promise you it'll infect your nervous system, because this is what it does for me. How did I get better? Watching Cam do this. Welcome back to Listen Before Love. We are back again, and this one is gonna be really good. I was just saying, as we sat on these chairs, I was like, I'm really excited for this one, because this is an area that my baby over here really shines in, and it is how to end a relationship. I think we should go broad on this one, because something is just telling me that there's a lot of breakups happening right now. There's a lot of friend breakups. There's a lot of employee breakups. There's a lot of people leaving their companies, a lot of people leaving their relationships. In fact, we just got a comment on our last episode from someone saying, in a big reflection, that this podcast helped them realize they were in the wrong relationship. And how special is that? I mean, not the fact that they're in the wrong relationship, but the fact that they could come to that realization. And so we're so excited to hear that. Thank you for sharing the impact that our conversations have had on you. And if you're out there and you're like, oh yeah, this thing happened to me, or I realized this about myself, please let us know, because that comment inspired this episode. We have been hearing, not just with that person, but so many people recently on the walks that we host, in our great morning calls, in our personal lives, that there's a lot of endings happening right now. We're closing a lot of chapters and we're opening brand new ones. And this messy middle situation is not something that you hear talked about enough. And so we want to dive deep into it and talk about how to lovingly, gently, and with a lot of integrity leave a relationship, no matter what that relationship is. So, baby,
if we can send this podcast, if this actually happened 10 years ago,
yeah,
and we were able to send it to all of Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriends before they broke up with her, the pop culture landscape will be completely different, because this is the way you do it in a respectful, loving way that gives yourself and then the best chance of healing and growing as fast as possible. So I'm so excited for this one. I think the world needs this, not only for romantic relationships, but for business relationships, for friendships, for potentially family relationships. The world is going through such a shift right now where so many things are splitting. And we want to make sure when that split takes place, it happens in the most eloquent, respectful way for everyone involved. So I'm really excited to get into this. The world needs this right now.
I have seriously been hearing about this in almost every conversation I've had with someone who isn't Cam, and even in our personal lives too. And should we start there?
Yeah.
Should we give some recent examples? Okay. So the last time that this happened for me was a week ago. I'll tell the story about the walk.
Sounds good.
So as you all know, you're familiar with the lore of the two of us. We host a walk every Saturday, 8 a.m. here in Austin. It's for meaningful conversations. The best people in the city come. It's like, we make this joke all the time. One day we just started walking and people just started walking with us. Like, what? How wild is that?
It's like the philosophers like Plato and stuff. They come down the hill once a week to walk through everything. Every time you say that, I think of that Tom Hanks. What was that one? I was running. And then people joined me.
That is the story of my life.
That's been the walk. That's been what you have done. Even I joined you.
Literally.
I was like, she's walking, I'm joining.
You know what's so funny? A guy I dated one time made a joke that I was the Forrest Gump of the internet. Because I just like start doing something and then people are like, what's she on? Let's go. And so it stuck with me ever since he said it. I was like, wait, but actually that is me. So anyway, Forrest Gump of the walk here in Austin, Texas. And people come on this walk and it becomes a village. It's a community where it happens every week. So you see the same faces, you get to know people's stories. And even though 10 plus people, newcomers, join every week, there is such a rich community of people who have joined on average 40 times. So you get to know these people deeply. But as y'all know, anytime you gather people, there are going to be some situations that happen. And that was one of my biggest life lessons. Like the walk has been my greatest teacher in many ways, but especially about being a direct communicator. This is something that I think Cam had a better time with than me. He was more natural about speaking his truth, about standing firm in what he wanted and not letting himself modulate or change or chameleon depending on someone's reaction. I have gone through many moments where if I say something to someone and I can tell they didn't like it, I will walk it back. And so the walks were really my training grounds from learning how to stand in what I want, my decision, my discernment, before bending to another person. So over the last 3 years, I've removed multiple people from the walk community. And people are always very intrigued by this. Every time I mention it, or even people will come up to me and be like, how do you do that? Because I think there's this fascination with these kind of conversations because so many more people in this world are like me than like you. And I have learned so much from Cam, just literally being in the room while he calls somebody and has one of these crucial conversations. And of course, before Cam and I met, I removed people from the walks multiple times, sometimes via email, sometimes via voice note on Instagram. Sometimes I'd call them. Sometimes it was in person, face to face, or a phone call. I've gone through the gamut of ways to do this. And it, in the beginning, really, really scared me. But I've hit a stride with it. I think it's getting easier and easier. And the last time I did this was actually a week ago. So I mentioned this example because these conversations are lurking everywhere. Anywhere where there is misalignment, there is space for a conversation like this to be had, to reset the dynamic, to make yourself feel more comfortable, make yourself feel more alive, more energized, more excited. It doesn't even need to be about, oh, they crossed a boundary. It can also be something as simple as, I don't feel alive in this dynamic as it is right now, and I need to speak something to make it better so that I don't just ghost and fall off the earth and the person has no idea what happened, aka what I used to do. So last week, this was a unique situation because Cam and I are usually on the same page when it comes to if we're going to remove somebody or not. But with this specific person, I had almost like a veil over my eyes because they did kind things towards me. They had given me some gifts. They had given me just small donations once or twice. They were very present. And I had almost like think about it like an energetic bank account that we've used these words before, where this person had put some deposits into my energetic bank account and made me look the other way on how I was actually feeling in my body towards the things that they were doing and the conversations we had. And so when somebody, actually multiple people, came forward to me and said, hey, I want to talk to you about this specific person. I've had interactions that make me feel very uneasy and they make me want to avoid the space. And these are people who, for my body, my full body, it's a hell yeah. You know, these are people in the community who I trust, I've known for years. So when I'm hearing that and I'm actually able to like take the wool over my eyes and take the mask off and be like, okay, let me set aside all of these things, all of these kind acts that this person has done and really feel into how my body is responding to this information, I came to the conclusion that they needed to be removed. And this one wasn't as easy as the others. I actually think this one was the hardest one yet. And Cam and I talk about this between the two of us all the time. There are levels to this game, and there are levels to transcending something that you find really difficult. So over the last couple of months, Cam and I have had this theme, and this might not make sense to everybody, but we're just going to say it because I think sometimes we try to make it more understandable, but I'm just going to say it as it is. And if you get it, you get it. And if you don't, you don't. Okay. On the concept of givers and takers, a true giver gives unconditionally. They give with no expectation. I'll bring it to life. Cam is always taking care of me. He has such a nurturing spirit, and he does things for me, not expecting anything in return. That is true unconditional giving. So, for example, he'll do the laundry for us. Does not matter if I notice, if I say anything about it, if I say, oh, thank you for doing that, baby. Doesn't matter because he wants to do that. He is giving from a pure, full well and is not keeping score or thinking, oh, I'm going to do this. Now she's going to do this. And he does this with everything. He brings me water in the mornings to say good morning and that he loves me. He brings me sparkling waters upstairs. He fixed the lighting in our podcast studio just because he knew it bothered me. And he's not expecting anything in return, but maybe a smile and a thank you. But he's not even expecting that, to be honest. That is true unconditional giving. Now, there's another version of giving that is giving to take. This is really subtle, though. Have you ever had somebody in your life who does a lot of things for you, but you know that if you don't receive it in the way they want you to, they will be upset? So, for example, let's say I go above and beyond and get somebody a birthday gift. And I spend so much time picking out the perfect things, and I find the perfect card and tie up in a bow, and I spend 10 hours putting together this gift. And I give it to the person, and I don't feel that they're grateful enough or that they're saying thank you enough, or I don't feel like they're groveling at my feet. Oh my God, they're crying. They're so grateful and appreciative. And so I get a little pissed at them, and I go home and I'm like, can you believe her reaction to my gift? I did all of that, and then for what? I didn't even get a thank you, but you did, right? But it wasn't a big enough thank you. But here's the subtext. It'll never be a big enough thank you if you're giving to take. That's the big thing. So have you ever known somebody like that who they do a lot and they give a lot, but no matter how you react to it, it's never enough. And it always causes a subtle issue. That is somebody unconsciously, we're not judging anyone here. We've all done this to some extent before we grow out of it. This is somebody who is giving to take. What are they taking? They're taking your energy. They're taking your validation. They are taking your excitement. They're taking your love. They are doing what they are doing to receive something in return. So it is not unconditional because the condition is what they are receiving. So I share all of that because over the last 6 months, Cam and I have been served multiple teachers. These are angels coming from different areas of the world straight to us to teach us this exact lesson of how to discern true givers from givers who are actually taking. And this specific woman who I just shared earlier with the walks was in the second category, was somebody who was giving to take. And it was the most complex, most layered and sneaky game that we have seen for this kind of person this year. But we've also been served this lesson probably with 6 people this year to varying levels. It started on level easy, then it went up to medium, and now hard, and now extremely difficult. And that was last week. So I'll stop there to see if baby wants to add anything. I know that I was on a roll there, but I think that someone need to hear that.
I absolutely love that. And immediately after hearing that, I know every person watching this is going to immediately think of at least one person. It's like, oh, they're definitely a taker.
Yeah.
And sometimes, especially for us, it takes a deep amount of reflection to realize, okay, well, this person gives to me, are they a taker? And really feel into it of like, how do I feel when I'm receiving something from them? Am I genuinely grateful? Or is there some type of hidden animosity towards them, which is unique to say because this is what I'm trying to hint at here. As the receiver, if you're honoring how you're feeling when someone is giving you something, you can feel the energy that they're sending you. It's like a gift with a little bit of poison in it. And you can feel it. And so just honoring that, I think, is very, very important. For some reason, as you were talking, I was contemplating in my head, like, should I really go down into the weeds of why this actually exists within these people? And that's a yes, I will.
Okay,
so basically what's happening here is these people, again, this is to provide context and compassion for people that are in this mode of needing to take, right? What happened is the far majority of these people learned this as a survival mechanism in their childhood.
Yeah.
They needed to be a certain way for them to feel safe or to feel loved. So this is very, very common amongst people that have had abusive households. They knew that if they either had dinner cooked or didn't mention this to dad, didn't say this to mom, did this for them, whatever it is, then everything will be okay. Everything will be fine. I do this, I get safety. I do this, I get attention. I do this, I get love. What's happening here is they are realizing I need to perform. And when I perform, I get something back. As opposed to just being a child who can just be themselves, wear what they want, join the sports team if they want, get A's in class if they want, or C's and D's, and that's still okay if they want. It's the difference between children that needed to perform and to do to receive love versus those that could have just been who they were with no real requirements for the person's energy. And as a child, that's how we're, just like every animal out here, we're constantly looking, especially in the first 7 years of our life, but for humans, I say it's the first 18, if not forever, if they don't grow out of it. We're looking for what we can and can't do to make us feel safe, to make us feel seen and loved. And as humans, it's to receive loving light force from another human, good energy from another human.
Right.
So what's happening here is that as these people grow older, and especially when they're now an adult, and they leave oftentimes a situation that was unhealthy, they now can make a life where they feel more safe, right? They got the job that pays the bills. They have this side of town that's safe. They have these friends. They go to these places. But the part of them needing to perform stays within until looked at. And so now it's not red alert all the time for their own safety, but it is for love and attention. And so they've developed this kind of barter system with energy when they were young.
Right.
And that barter system continues as they grow older, which sadly makes them much less likely to be able to genuinely just give, because everything in their life feels like a transaction. And so as they grow older, they're like, okay, if I give this level of gift to a friend, I will receive this level of attention, admiration, and love from them. And if you get even deeper than that, it's like, I need their attention, admiration, and love because when they're in my life, I feel good. And when this person in my life, I feel good. When I have this done, I feel good. And when I don't feel good, I feel unsafe. And so it goes very, very deep. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole exactly at this moment. But what's happening here is how they see the world is through a place of a transaction.
Yeah.
That came from a survival mode that many of them are still living in. And so it's sad to think that is their way of seeing the world, but that is for all takers. It is coming from a survival place. And so knowing that, I encourage everyone to have an immense amount of compassion for those that are takers, because this is just the way they believe the world works. This is all they know. And many of us either grew up in that environment and have been able to evolve out of it, not needing that transaction for everything, and just know I can just freely give or not. I can just stick to myself and everything will be okay. Everything will be fine.
It's choosing what you actually feel called to do and not what you think you have to do to be safe, to be loved, to be validated, to have attention, to have friends, to have a lover, whatever it is, fill in the blank.
That is the difference between living life from a place of love as opposed from a place of fear.
Yep.
So that is the nitty gritty of exactly what that archetype originates from. And that's good to know, but we're not here to be everyone's savior and therapist to get them to the point they no longer take from us and they're just giving to us.
Right.
We're not here to heal other people in that way.
And we can't.
We can't. It's
Yeah.
actually, it needs to be done through self-reflection and oftentimes isolation and oftentimes learning lessons of people telling them the truth, being completely honest with them, how they feel when they're around a taker, when they're around them. And depending on that person, in the situation, that direct injection of truth that makes up the collective reality that they're choosing to live in, which they can't see because they have blinders on, that could, if it feels right for you to say, could be the most pivotal point in their life, if they so please. And it probably won't be immediately, because you pulling yourself away from them is red alert, red alert, red alert. I'm not loved again. I don't have attention. I'm not safe again. They immediately go into fight or flight mode.
Right.
And they get really nasty. Oftentimes, it's the same people that do a lot for you, but the moment you begin to pull away, you feel the fist coming up.
Exactly.
So the ones that are truly on the path to understand this and to overcome this, the interactions we have to state a boundary is actually the greatest thing for their growth by far.
To state a boundary with any takers who may be in our life.
Correct. That is the greatest thing we can do for them.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because, again, a lot of those people, they will not understand that immediately. Something will take weeks, months, years, decades, sometimes lifetimes. They may be reincarnating just to learn this lesson.
They might not get it on this
I'm being very serious with you. That's actually potentially what's happening here.
Yep.
So it's not our responsibility to help them heal.
No.
It is our responsibility to make sure every relationship in our life is coming from a place of love.
Right. From
us and from them. To make every relationship feel juicy, to feel great, whether that's romantic relationships, business relationships, friendship and family relationships.
Community.
They're all community.
Everything.
They're meant to feel great. And we know this. We know this. We all have that one friend that's not doing that well or in a relationship with someone they shouldn't be in, whatever it is. And we just want to shake them, be like, what are you doing? The entire world knows that the reality of living doesn't need to be the case, but they simply can't see it.
They're not ready.
So again, they're not ready. I have nothing but compassion for people that are takers. But sadly, what happens in this game of energy that we're all living in is that when you are surrounded by takers, they're literally siphoning energy off of you.
Yes.
Which leads you feeling drained.
Yes.
Which literally makes you more sick, makes you have less energy to actually do the things you want to do with your life, less creative energy by far, and actually only creates judgment and resentment towards them. So we think that we're helping them by keeping them in our lives and shining a little more light. I'm their fun, I'm their happy friend, so I'm gonna stay there because I'm their only source of light. But actually what happens over time, and we know this, and we're being really honest with ourselves, we know this is happening, there's a bit of judgment and resentment we feel towards them. Which is okay, that's natural. But we feel that because we know it's an unequal energy exchange taking place. And so we're gonna give you the gold right here. But all of community management really is kicking out the takers.
Yeah.
Is kicking out the leeches. Now, thankfully, depending on the event you host, depending on the filters you have of what you do allow and not allow in the space, there's so much you can do to, as a default, have very little amount of takers. And I believe the Walks is doing a great job of that.
I believe we've done that.
True Love Club, True Brotherhood, everything else we're doing, Great Morning, great job of that. But occasionally, a very advanced taker still comes in.
A sophisticated taker.
A sophisticated taker who, again, the more sophisticated they are, more than likely, the more trauma they had in their childhood.
The more sophisticated the taker, the more complex the trauma.
Exactly. Because they had to get really smart.
Yes.
Really advanced, really young.
Yes.
To just make it in this world.
And they kind of had to trick.
Exactly.
In order to get ahead sometimes.
Exactly.
They had to bend themselves to be safe in certain situations, because even though they weren't enjoying their situation with whether it's a family member or a friend or whatever they're going through in their childhood, they had to pretend that they were, and they had to show up a certain way in order to receive what they needed to receive to survive. And that's why we have nothing but compassion for this entire group of people. And let us just say too, there are, I would say, I mean, what would you say, majority takers or givers in the world?
At this current moment, how our lifestyle currently is, there are definitely more takers in the world. If you ever would resonate with the words of being a savior, wanting to change other people, doing something, that was also me. Let me get this very clear. I'm quote unquote guilty of this. You're guilty of this.
Yeah, sure.
Most people are guilty of this, but thankfully, I think we have, especially right now, have transcended that.
Thank God.
Like, I'm not here to change anybody.
Right?
You actually got to pay me large sums of money for you to be worth my time to learn what I'm capable of teaching you to actually help you.
Yeah.
I'm not here to just give relentlessly, because I realize over time that's just draining for me, and all I do is build resentment and judgment towards other people. I don't want that for them. I don't want that for myself.
And it is taking.
Yes. Even when you are trying to be the savior, you are taking. So a lot of the world, the reason why the world sucks right now, for the people that choose to believe that, is because it's two takers all the time. That's why every day you feel drained. That is the real reason why every day you wake up out of bed with no energy. It's because you're in a life where you're just taking, and takers attract takers. Your boss is taking from you, your partner's taking from you, your family and friends are taking from you, and you're taking from them. It's a happy marriage currently, until you don't want it to be.
Yeah.
So, all this being said, I would love to get back to the topic of breakups, of ending relationships.
Yep.
Right? Oh man, I'm so glad we had this kind of taker talk beforehand, because it really is important to understand for this next topic.
It really is.
And I'd love to just go off on this. Is that all right with you?
Baby, go for it.
Okay. So when I think about relationships and ending relationships, the whole thing of, oh, it's not you, it's me. You know that joke we all have that's kind of been in the ether for quite a while? That's some of the realest shit I ever wrote. That's legit. I used some Nas, some rapper Nas right there. The real shit I ever wrote. People hate it, but it's actually true. And let me help you out with this. Immediately when you hear that, you're like, what do you mean? That person's obviously down bad, doing poorly, not good for my life. He's definitely the problem. Why would it be, my thing? From an enlightened perspective, every human is having the exact experience they're meant to have at this moment. And so how they are, whether they are a benevolent, enlightened billionaire or the poor crackhead on the street that's trying to steal from local stores and piss in public and do other things, whatever it may be, whatever lifestyle they're in, that is of their choosing. And they are fully embodying the version of themselves they want to be in that moment, like we all are. When we want to leave that situation, let's say, of course, those are pretty extremes right there, but if we have, let's say, a romantic partner that we've realized there's just a lot of things coming up that either I may not have seen before or may have just gotten worse in his life, whatever it is, you wanting to potentially leave that situation is you changing. You're going from currently where you are to something new. You're the one changing.
Yes.
It's literally not you, it's me. You are evolving while they're staying the same or getting worse. But you are the one changing. And so this is very, very important to understand when it comes to romantic relationships, when it comes to friendships, family, business partners. This is what, thankfully, I don't know how I learned this. I think it just came to me one day. And ever since I saw this as the truth, I couldn't unsee this. And this one thing has caused so many breakups, just in general, work so much better for me understanding that it literally is not about them. It is about me and my path. And so old friend groups from college, from high school, whatever it is, thankfully, it's how the world works energetically wise. Distance will automatically be created when one rapidly evolves. At a metaphysical level, we are literally vibrating at a certain capacity and a rate that is no longer vibrationally compatible with theirs. And so naturally, we will begin to live in two separate realities. And so a lot of this, you'll notice if you really think back to a lot of your life, even if the person lives a few doors down from you, they're still in the physical reality. They live in a different reality that you're just not going to see them anymore. So thankfully, the far majority of relationships, especially with old friends and a distant relative, whatever it is, naturally, it'll distance. So I would say 90 to 95% of my relationships from my past have distance. Because I've changed. I've evolved rapidly. And it's never been a closed door to them. It's an open door. But we're going to now function at this vibration. I'm not going to go down and complain and talk about, people behind their back and there's all the things like they have always done. They can meet me up here if they so please. It's a see you later, not a goodbye. But there are some people that aren't just going to vibrationally split from you where it feels painless and you even forgot it happened. Mm-hmm. There are going to be people that stay in your life until it becomes a pain for you. This is employees, bosses, old best friends, old mutual friends, cousins, aunts, uncles, mothers, fathers, everyone, romantic relationship, everyone. If they're staying in your life, they are a test for you. And if we rewrite it to look like that, oh man, the game changes. In this video game of life, in this simulation, you are sent the people that will show you where you are unfree. They'll be tests to be like, are you sure you want this life? Are you sure you want to rise? Because they're going to remind you, they're going to be a mirror of the old version of you. And those mirrors are being shown to you as your final exam before you make it to the next level of your life. This is why, for myself and all of my clients, all the people that I've helped with this, the moment they have that conversation, sometimes within minutes, but definitely the next day, there's something about the world's a little bit different. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit better. Things just flow a little bit easier. They have graduated from that level by passing that final exam, saying, see you later, to that old version of themselves that is a mirror, and moving on going forward. This is a pretty video gamey simulation type of example and theoretical equation that I'm bringing to people's plate at this moment, but this is very, very important to understand. Because if we look at people as a mirror of our past selves, as a reflection of who we used to be, and we will treat that person like we would treat the version of ourselves that used to be around them, that's when we begin to master relationships. So let me give you more example. I have a lot of people, especially I went to college with, that I have an immense amount of compassion for because I understand why they are the way they are. And they are perfect exactly as they are. But I've changed and I've evolved, right? I must understand that the 19 through 22-year-old version of myself attracted those people for a reason. We were somewhat on equal levels of vibration, of taking, of everything in between that makes up the human experience.
What were you taking at that time?
For me, I was taking their attention because I was deeply afraid of being lonely. Mm. I was taking from them because I resorted to hanging out with people and doing things like partying and drinking and a bunch of things I wish the highest version of myself probably would not do, because I'd rather be around people than face the fear of the unknown of what would happen if I cut off the normal life and began to do the things that would actually build me into the person who was capable of that moment. And so I was utilizing people as a pacifier, as an escape from confronting and becoming the parts of myself that we want to become. And so I have a lot of compassion for myself back then. I had a lot on my plate. I was going through things that even my parents, even my best friends had no idea. And so for me to have judgment, hatred, resentment, any negative feelings towards my college buddies, my college friends, is actually me just having judgment, hatred, and resentment towards the version of myself that I was back then. The vibration I was at that was attracting those type of people. And the more you evolve, all evolving is just an evolution of loving yourself. And so why would I be mad at what I attracted back then? It was just metaphysics at play. Those are the people that I deserve at that moment. And again, there's nothing wrong with them. They've been incredible lessons for me. I genuinely still have so much love and compassion for them as I do my own self at that age. So when you see it like that, there is no fuel to the fire of hatred for them. So when you, and this is the real juice of this, when you get to the point where you're like, I'm done vibrating at this level. I'm done speaking with people like this. I'm done being the version of myself that attracts people like this, is really what it comes down to. Every time that I've had someone come to me and cause some beef, stir up some chaos in my life to make that gradual vibration shift much harder than I like it to be, those people are just tests. Like I said, it's a final exam. So how would I ace that final exam, right? Especially if they provoke it, if it's necessary. If they're like, Kim, why aren't you like text me back anymore? For years, we'd hang out on this weekend and watch these games together. But now you just, what's wrong, bro? Like, what's going on? Are we like, is there something wrong with me, or is there something like going on with you, or what's going on? And I'd say, quite honestly, man, like, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but like recently in my life, a lot has been changing, a lot has been evolving, and my priorities have shifted. And I'm really just immensely grateful for the times that we've had together. And I really fully embrace who you are. And that being said, I'm just choosing a different lifestyle right now. One is not better or worse. And so you will always have just an incredible place in my heart. And you're someone who I've deeply enjoyed getting to know. But at this moment, I'm just making different choices. And I don't expect you to understand, but I hope that you can respect that. And that will be received in whatever way the other person is meant to receive it at that moment. Mm-hmm. If they're meant to be triggered because it's part of their test to have a friend that leaves them, they will be. If they're meant to be like, oh man, it's okay, I understand. Like, I understand you're trying to be sober right now, I understand this and that. If they respond, whatever way they respond, it is the ultimate reflection point for them on their video game of life, for them to grow. It's like we're both each other's final exams for the next level. It's so funny how it works, because all interactions are really like that. It's all an internal game played externally. And when you see it like that, man, it's very difficult to have any form of resentment judgment for anyone. Because having resentment judgment for them is having resentment judgment towards the version of yourself that attracted them. I would love to know your thoughts on everything I said there.
I'm very curious for anyone listening who feels like they have a level of resentment towards somebody who either ended a relationship with them or they ended a relationship with the other person. Why would there still be resentment there? What is that a sign of?
The resentment is a sign of exactly what we talked about earlier. There is obviously an equal energy exchange that took place in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone is leaving before they settle their balance,
yeah,
just like, or they pay their tab at the bar,
before
they are able to receive back all they've given, that's why it's there. This is why after every relationship, most people that are bitter about it, resentful about it, are like, I did so much for him. I was his life. I got him this. I did this. I was the perfect way in this way. It's because in their mind, their relationship, they're like, okay, who do I have to become? What do I have to do to get this guy to love me, to stay with me? So I'm going to create myself into this. And in the moment it's taken away, she's like, the tab's not paid. The balance is still due. And he just left? What?
Yeah.
So if we have resentful feelings around our relationship ending, it is because we were taking. And even if they were abusive, even if they're walking all over you, you stayed with them for a reason. Let's be honest here. You stayed with them for a reason. Why would anyone do that? Human nature is a constant energy exchange. And if you are staying in a situation that is objectively not best for you, it's number one, it's because you believe you deserve that. And number two, you're actually getting something from it that consciously we may not be able to understand.
Yeah.
This is never talked about in the human nature textbooks or taught in school, but this is it.
Well, the subconscious mind is feeling like it's replaying an old pattern that happened in the formative years of childhood, and that this time we can change the result. So we stay in the familiar situation, and the subconscious mind says, oh, this makes sense. This is familiar. Yeah, keep going, keep giving, keep overgiving, which is also taking. Keep going, because you'll get a different result, and they'll finally love you, and you'll be happy.
So until you look at this, you will keep attracting your wound. So if you were a woman with an abusive father, no shit, you're going to have abusive boyfriends. You're going to keep on trying to replay the level of video game until you get it right.
Mm-hmm.
When you get it right, when you realize you don't need to play anymore. Opting out is to take to the next level.
It's choosing differently.
Exactly.
Because it requires you to say, okay, this feels familiar. How do I eject from the game? I do something I've never done. I don't continue the pattern, keep playing the character. I'm going to introduce a line of dialogue into the game that says, I don't deserve to be treated this way, and I do not want to talk to you from this moment forward. Goodbye.
Oh.
Now you're out. Now you've gone to an entirely new level. And that is what it takes. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit because when I asked you that question, I thought you were going to go the way that I was thinking, but you went somewhere really great. I think one reason, I'm just analyzing my own behavior, because I was a big overgiver. Like Cam and I are both sharing this from a place of like, we did this. This is a huge wound in us that I feel we've transcended. Now we're on like the edges of it. Like I was talking about before, we're being sent very advanced, sophisticated tests now to hone our discernment. Why that's happening? Because we're about to have a lot of energy coming towards us, more than we already do now. And they are giving us practice. That's a whole nother conversation. But where my mind went when it's, you end a relationship with somebody. Let's say it's a friend breakup, or you are firing an employee, or you are removing someone from a community, or leaving a relationship. The way you leave and the integrity that you carry in the ending is so important. And this is where I personally have gone wrong a couple of times, because I have I'll speak in past tense. I had, always speaking what I want to actually be the reality. I had a very hard time saying deep truths that I know would hurt somebody's feelings. This is something that I'm still working on today. And so what I had a pattern of doing is saying something kind of true. It was technically true. I would never lie, but I wouldn't say the deepest truth. And because I didn't say the deepest truth, this relationship never felt resolved. And it kept, how do you know it doesn't feel resolved? It keeps coming to you. It keeps coming to you.
It's on your mind.
It's on your mind. You think about it when you're in the shower. You think about it in any moment of your day. There's silence. When you're driving in the car, you're walking by yourself, you're sleeping. You're seeing this in your dreams. The way that you leave it and the amount of integrity and truth you share with love and compassion. This is not to use truth as a weapon here. This is to use truth as a tool that creates your own salvation and creates your own good, juicy feelings of resolution. And where I personally went wrong, and I've learned a lot from Cam in this area, because he's very, very good at endings. I've seen him do it multiple times now. I've been in the room when he's called people to, could I share?
Everything.
He's
sure, everything.
Called. I like to be in the room when he does this, because it transfers the energy to me. By the way, this is why we work with any coach that we work with, or any, professional who we feel who has a code for us, because being in the room when they do something in their genius literally infects your nervous system. So I have been in the room every time Cam has removed a community member, has let go of employees or contractors, has called people to remove them from anything that we are doing in the ecosystem, has broken up with friends, has contacted. There was even a period where Cam, when we were in Sedona this year, he literally got a download to reach out to specific women he had dated and tell them the door was closed. And I just got to sit there and experience him make these voice notes. So I have seen Cam do this in every situation. And every time, I also just saw you do this like days ago.
This is a way of life.
He's done it with his clients. Like when the container ends and there needs to be a reinforcement of like, thank you, I love you, but also there needs to be an ending to this. I've seen him do this in every single fashion. And I just want everyone to experience what I experience when you do this. And so I want to role play.
Oh,
I want to role play.
Let's go.
And this is very powerful. So if you can, just get into a seated position, like focus, like get yourself into a settled place. And if you're watching this on video, watch this, put your entire life force badussy into what we are about to share. Because if you absorb this the way he does it, I promise you it'll infect your nervous system, because this is what it does for me. And this is why I've been able to get a lot better at this. This was the biggest thing I was so bad at for years. You guys know I let somebody stay in my community for 2 years who made me viscerally uncomfortable on a weekly basis. That's how bad I was at this. How did I get better? Watching Cam do this. So let's role play. I'm going to let dealer's choice. What situation would you like to role play?
Let's do business. Something business.
So do you want me to be an employee? I'm an employee who's not performing.
Not performing. Okay.
Yeah.
There's two distinct problems that come up with
All
an
right.
employee or independent contractor. There's not perform. This isn't part of it. This is just preface.
Right.
There is employee not performing, and then the employee's mood, vibration, energy.
Oh, big one. Yeah.
No longer being a match for the rest of the team.
Oh, huge, huge, huge. Which one feels more exciting to you?
Let's do both. Whatever one you want first.
Perfect. Okay.
Which one would it be?
All right. So let's imagine that you and I had a conversation because I'm feeling frustrated. And as I said before, for Cam and I, if we're feeling frustrated, it's a sign that we are not in alignment and something needs to change. So I'm feeling frustrated. I bring it to you and I'm like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but I feel that this employee is missing deadlines. I have had to over-explain how to do simple tasks. I have had to go and clean up the work because it's not done well the first time. And the performance is just not where it needs to be. So we've had this conversation. And now, what do you do now?
You send me off.
And I said...
You send me off. Go fix it.
I do.
Go fix it. Come back with results.
He's so good at it. So then I have a conversation. And then Cam goes, say less.
All right, Dan. I'm going to head out.
Immediately goes to fix it. It's amazing for me. Okay. So now we have the conversation. What's your next move?
So first off, both of these type of situations need to be done with as much humanness as possible.
Yes.
What I mean is, if you're all in the same office together, have it in person, face to face, in a quiet meeting room.
Okay.
If you guys live in different parts of the city, or they're in a different state or country, have as much access to your humanness as possible. That's not a text. That's not an email. That's a FaceTime. That's a Zoom call, right?
Yeah.
Calls work too, but video calls are the best.
I love it.
And so I would first be like, hey, let's say, let's call it John. We don't have any Johns. Let's call it John.
Is this over text?
This is over text or email.
Be super specific. Okay. So now we're texting them.
I'll do it over text. We have business chat, DM, whatever you guys have to communicate, Slack, whatever it is. Hey, John, a few things have come up around the team recently, and I would just love to have a one-on-one chat with you. Are you free in a few hours? Whatever it is. What's your availability next few hours? They're like, hey, no worries. It's 4 p.m. Great. See you then. I'll send you a Zoom call link right now. It should only be about 15 minutes, half an hour. Great. That Zoom call comes. I'll be like, and I'll keep this somewhat light, right? I'll be like, hey, John, how are you doing, my friend? And just let him kind of say how he's doing. Oftentimes, if people aren't doing the best, they'll kind of like, it's been a rough week for me, whatever it is. But either like, oh, everything's good. What's up? I'll be like, hey, man, so the team and I have been talking recently, and we really enjoy having you here. And you are someone who we would like to be a part of our future of High Vibe Ventures, or whatever company you're doing, of High Vibe Ventures. And to make that happen, I want to make sure that I put a few things on your awareness, on your radar, about what we've noticed upon you working here. Is that all right with you? Always ask for permission. Is that all right with you? Yeah, sure. What's up? So, man, you have been really good at doing these things. We really enjoy how this is done, how this is done, how this is done. And that being said, there's also been some work that we see that isn't up to the cadence or isn't up to par that we would like to have for the business going forward. And that is this, and this. Now, John, what can we do to make sure that you are in the best position possible to make these 4 things be excellent?
You want me to role play?
Sure.
Do you want me to?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I think I need things like a week in advance. I feel sometimes the turnaround's really tight. I really need detailed explanations of exactly how you want me to do things. So if that could be like a Loom video or something. I also need like more feedback on if I'm going in the right direction, because I think sometimes I spend a lot of time second guessing myself, and like that would just be solved if we could have like a quick chat.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And me as the CEO of the company, my time being very valuable at this moment. So what I want to do going forward for the next handful of weeks is for us to create a structure in which you could learn rapidly the type of excellence that we need in these 4 categories. These other things are already doing great. And so we just want this same amount of energy and of love and of just incredible work you're putting in over here to match these 4 areas. Now, when it comes to me helping with this, this is something that would be taking away from my time when it comes to creating and connecting. I think that's making all the money from coming in. So I would like for us to really sit down right now and see what it is in particular that we're not 100% clear on around the expectations, around the direction needed to get this done properly. Can we do that?
Yeah,
Amazing,
sure.
amazing. So let's go for number one right here. Number one is this, and this is where it can go a little off right here.
Yeah.
It can go on a tangent for quite a while, but this example, and there's some few words I really want to highlight here. He's very, very important. When I brought him in, and of course, connected with him as a human, so I was physically there with him, looked him in his eyes, asked him how he was genuinely, and then I went into the topic of the conversation that was very much in play in the DM that I sent him a few hours earlier. I said, I'd love to talk about the performance, everything going on here. These are things I really enjoy. I always start with something they're doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're, I'm having a meeting where I'm there to fire them, I'm always starting with things they're doing really well. Because it can't just be that all this shit's terrible and what's up with that.
Right.
We need to address the objective truth that there are things going really well here.
Yeah.
Because if they don't get that initial sigh of relief by you seeing them for the work they are doing well, their entire body is going to be unable to exhale. The whole meeting, like the few hours after the DM, like, it's going to be like, just a check-in, or just going to be like a talking to, it's going to be, am I going to get fired? The whole time they're thinking that. So they're going to be tense. And you can see them, especially as they're saying, as you're asking, like, how you're doing, whatever it is, you can still kind of feel it in their energy.
Yeah.
The first thing you want to do is congratulate them and gratify them and affirm them on what they're doing very well. And then what they're doing wrong isn't about them. It's not about their character. They are not wrong. It's not you are wrong. It's this isn't up to what we like.
Right.
Not them, but this output is not up to what we like.
Right.
And then I said, what can we do to pretty much change the input to get better outputs? So it's not like you need to do better at these things. What's up with that? We need to make them like this. It's what can we do? And even if we doesn't mean me, because it may not be worth my time, energy, or my knowledge within the company of how to do that well, someone on that team can be of help. But the real thing is, oftentimes, people don't need external help.
Right.
They can figure it out by themselves.
Ooh, yeah.
But they need to know that the team has their back. And the team wants them to succeed and is here for them if they were to fall. They're not there for them to, put their hands on the keyboard properly and type this in and all that. No.
Right.
What I will do later on in that conversation is empower him or her with the fact that I trust them to make decisions. And I say, I trust your discernment on this, on what you think looks better here. I trust your discernment on whether we should do this here or this not. Having that trust and starting with what can we do changes the game completely. They now see us as a team, and we're here to solve this equation over here.
Right.
This isn't a you did this, you did it wrong. Oh, well, I didn't have enough resources, and that's your problem. You're the CEO. I didn't have this. It stays away from this.
Right.
And it's now, what can we focus on objectively over here that we can do better together?
Right. So it's not pointing fingers. Doesn't make anyone feel like they're bad or wrong.
It's empowering.
Yeah.
It's guiding. Now, at the end of that meeting, the goal for that person, and again, this works for business, this works for many different things. The goal for the person who led the meeting is to make sure that the intentions and expectations are set going forward for this employee. So, and this could be oftentimes very tactical. What I mean by that. If time passes, 2 weeks pass, a month pass, and this still the same work is coming out, it's still very poor, if not worse, that's when you can go into a meeting like, hey, we talked about this a month ago. And at the end of the meeting, it seems like we got everything we need, and you reaffirm we got everything we need to make sure we're on par and on course for the next month or so. Speaking a month back, I would love to know like what's going on, what's going on that's stopping you from being able to perform the way we said, and then they may have some type of excuse, whatever, and that is when you can really see if they're a good fit for the company going forward.
Right.
Because if you have a conversation with them and you air out everything that is potentially stopping them from succeeding, and you give them solutions, and you give them trust in their own discernment,
yeah,
and everything they need, and they still act poorly, that's grounds for letting go.
Yeah.
That's grounds for firing. So that's a big thing when it comes to them simply not performing in the way they're meant to. There's also, like you mentioned, if they're just not the right vibe anymore.
This is a big one because
it's even bigger.
This is actually this, like Cam said before, the willingness to remove people who are no longer in resonance with you as the leader of the business, the community, whatever you're doing, is the secret sauce. If you are willing to remove people who are not feeling good to you, who give you some weird internal feeling within, and you know what I'm talking about. It's not logical. They haven't done anything wrong. They haven't broken the rules. You just feel a certain way. And this person makes you feel more contracting than expansive. And so this is what we're talking about. The willingness to actually remove this person.
If there is a person where every day when you go to work or when you log on to Zoom, whatever it is, and you're like, oh, fuck. All right, they're here again today. If you have any contraction in your body of dis-ease,
yeah,
they're gone.
Yes.
They're gone. They're at least having a, very similar to the talk we just had, a meeting where we better understand why it is that there is a dissonance taking place when it comes to energy.
Yeah.
As a founder, the quickest way to tank your company is having low energy people, is to have takers, is to have leeches in the company. Even if, and this is big, even if they're the top salesperson, even if they're your cousin, which we know a few examples of,
yeah.
even if they are in your mind very important to the company,
right?
If they are dragging down the vibe, you got to have them GTFO.
I have to say, I know multiple examples of startups in Austin who hire family, and the family hires tank the startup. I've seen it so many times. It's comical.
And this happens because the CEO, the founder, the person hiring has scarcity or fear around what they may think if they were to let go. Whether that's with a family member.
Or why they even hired them in the first place is because they felt obligated to.
Shame,
out
guilt.
of guilt and shame. And so they let them in the door, and now they can't remove them for the same reason.
It's like, why isn't that family member loving their life, having a dream job? It's because they're not competent enough.
Exactly.
It's because
there's a reason.
So you want to invite that into your home, into your
Right.
business, and no, of course not.
Right. So you're robbing them of their highest growth, and they're robbing your company of its highest growth.
Exactly.
And it's like this freaking gridlock, two hands that are just downward spiraling with their hands locked, both going down the drain instead of an upward spiral.
And keeping them on, whether it's family or just, again, like your top performing person, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If it's diminishing the energy of the company, it is repulsing other very high performers from coming in.
Or clients, community members, collaborators. It's felt within the entire system. That's why this is so vital. I know we're going hard on this example in business because it's just been like such a big lesson. I mean, I swear to God, with the walks, every single time we remove somebody, the next walk feels 10 times better. Every time without exception. Everyone's smiling a little bit more. There are new people coming in who you really like, finding you through mysterious ways. It's like you get rewarded for having this hard conversation, actually honoring your alignment. Because if we look at it this way, And this is the way we look at it with no judgment, because no matter if we have these situations where we remove people often, they're all just angels. They're angels on earth sent to us to do this exact thing, because it's not only in our highest growth, it's in the person's highest growth. I can't tell you, I'm going to tell you a quick story, because this one to this day is one of my favorite things that happened on the walk. In the very beginning, when the walk was smaller and it was about 30, 40 people, there was a guy who was consistently very low energy. He was nicknamed Eeyore. And it didn't bother me, but so he was very low energy and depressed. I'm going to use that word because he would openly tell people that. And when he would be in conversations with people, it would be complaining about his life. And I'm having a hard time at my job, and all this thing happened to me this week. And it was always so heavy. And on one specific walk, this girl, I didn't know this at the time, he stopped coming to the walk as a result of this conversation, and then 6 months later came back and told me about this moment that got him to stop coming on the walk and fix his life. This one moment. He was in a walk conversation with a girl, complaining about his life, dumping all the spirals about, oh, woe is me, my job, nothing's going right, all this. I'm tight on money, all of it. And this girl looks him, a total stranger, dead in the eye, and goes, I appreciate you sharing with me. I do not want to be exposed to this kind of energy today. And so I'm going to exit this conversation now. Goodbye. And walked away and joined another conversation. And he disappeared, literally clean off the planet, disappeared, came back to me 6 months later, and I asked, where'd you go? Because he looked so much different. He was in such a better place. He told me the story, and he's like, that woman saying that to me was the trigger I needed to get my shit together. I went home, sobbed, and was like, wow, I literally went to an event for conversations, and someone said, GTFO. That is my rock bottom. And it's moments like this, like you actually owning the truth of how you're feeling and communicating it to that person, that can radically change their life. And it may be really uncomfortable in the moment, and you may not even know why you're feeling called to say it. When we remove people from our communities, we have no idea the ripple effect it's going to cause. This could be that moment for these people. Maybe we're saying the thing, and I know this is true because I've been told it. We are saying the thing that no one in their life has said. And so they continue repeating the same patterns, falling into the same exact situations until you're jolted by someone speaking the deepest truth. And so I just wanted to share that because I feel that while we can control what we say, and I know it's hard to say the deepest truth, but if we do find the confidence and the courage to speak that and let go of how it's received, we cannot anticipate this person's going to take it well, they're going to take it badly, they're going to shit talk us, they're going to do XYZ. We can't control that. All we can control is the integrity of our own actions and acting in alignment with what feels good to us. And this doesn't mean that people can't have a bad day, or that if somebody is not of a certain threshold or is not smiling enough or isn't in a good vibe one day, they gotta go, because we embrace the full human experience. I'm talking about if you're noticing a repeated pattern of how something makes you feel or someone makes you feel, and it's not changing, it's your responsibility to end it, to end the chapter in whatever way feels true for you, and speaking the truth of how this person is making you feel. And it's our lack of not saying that, of not looking someone in the eye and saying, hey, this is how I am feeling. It's all about you. This is how I'm feeling. I really appreciate everything we've gone through together, but I'm going to need to take a step back from this relationship. I hope you can understand. I love you so much. I will always love you. It's our ability to actually say something like that to someone that could be the moment of truth and awakening that snaps them onto a new path.
It's their catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. That's fantastic.
Oh, thank you, baby.
Yeah.
So I know we're a little over our usual time, but did you want to do one more role play?
Sure.
Okay.
What stands out to you to do?
Well, I want to know what's most exciting to you. Do you want to do... We did an employee who's having poor performance.
I know what they want. They want romantic. Let's do that.
Let's do romantic.
Let's do romantic.
Okay.
Oh, man. Okay.
Are you setting a boundary or are you breaking up with them?
Oh, we gotta do breakup.
Okay, let's do
Let's
it.
do the most extreme.
Oh, Lord help.
Come on. I'm trying to think. 'Cause I need some more context, right?
Yeah.
Of what's going on. Okay, let's go hard mode on this, right?
All right.
Not the mode of, okay, you want to live on a farm, I want to stay in the city, or, you know, you're leaving for this school and I'm leaving for this school in different states.
Yeah.
It's not where it's inevitable of lifestyle, right? Let's say it's like this person can obviously fit in your life for the rest of your life. And the families get along really well.
Oh, boy.
They're already calling her by his last name.
Oh, geez.
Type stuff.
And you've been dating for like a couple years, so everybody keeps asking, so when are you going to propose? And the internal dialogue in the man, oh my God, I see this all the time, is that, oh, but, you know, there's just something missing, and I know that I should propose, and I know everyone's expecting me to propose, but I'm just not feeling it, but I feel guilt. Can I walk away? Have I wasted her, you know, good years? I hear that all the time. That's the internal dialogue.
Oh man, this is even hard for me to muster up. Like I know how to do it, but it's so difficult. Oh, okay. First off, there are many different reasons why someone would break up with someone, right? Oftentimes it comes down to a feeling they have around them. You just kind of know it's not it. And then they like to be like, we always find material reasons for why energetically they feel wrong to us. They feel like something's off. Like, well, he's not taking care of himself enough physically. He's, you know, quite honestly, I don't see him ever making enough money to support us both. He has this problem. Or, you know, I like to do this, but he would prefer if I had this lifestyle. There's a bunch of different things that we kind of create to reinforce the feeling we have around someone. So I'm going to keep it without playing any blame game, because it's not really something you really need to do. I'm going to keep it as authentic and real as possible, where there's no scapegoat, there's no pointing the finger. It's just the most probably pure way to do it.
Okay.
Man, this is a difficult way to do as I'm looking at you.
Oh, you want
because
to
I'm deeply in love with you and I'm gonna marry you. So I need to like create some figurative character in my mind right now.
I wish I had like a little face like on a stick.
Yeah, but like one of my exes or something like that.
Wait, because I have an ex's face on mine. Do you want me to not look at you? Look
I need to look
at the camera.
I need to look at the camera.
Okay, yeah, don't look at me.
Okay.
I don't want to feel that.
Ooh, that's a lot of energy coming your way. A lot of. Ooh, okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Oh boy.
Think of a name, and don't say one of my ex's names.
Emma.
Don't use that name.
Oh shit. I didn't. What?
Don't use that name.
Okay. Alice.
Alice.
Okay.
Perfect. Oh man. Okay. Well, number one, if you guys have been together for a long time, there's probably a very good relationship going. You can look at me now. We're not yet. I got to set more preface.
Okay.
Of how this needs to be. Of course, it needs to be in person. If you're doing over text, email,
oh please don't
call.
Do not.
There's something severely wrong with you.
Don't be that person.
This is the point where we're legit moved in, and we are.
Is there a dog?
There's a dog.
Oh no. Oh.
There's, you know, let's make it the worst possible.
Oh my God.
The most commitment ever, right?
No.
Okay.
She just got her nails done.
She got nails done.
She think the proposal's happening soon.
Anniversary's coming up.
Oh no.
Proposal's coming through. It's like that season. Let's make it like the worst of the worst.
I'm sick.
And again, there is no perfect way to do this. This is being 100% authentic and truthful to who you are, right? This isn't like the most eloquent thing ever. There's probably gonna be a lot of crying, potentially some yelling involved, a lot of sadness. That's inevitable with a relationship of this magnitude. This isn't like a 2-week thing and like, hey, we're not gonna see each other anymore. This is like a legit, like you guys have a life together.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, this is me blaming excuses upon all things. It's me being 100% honest. This is what I've had to do. Thankfully, not that many times. And I've had to do it in different ways that aren't romantically. This is how I do it. So I would make sure that it is not on a date. It is not, taking out to dinner. It's not whatever it is. If you guys have a home together, it's in the home. And it's when she's in a relaxed state. When she's, end of the day, normally they watch TV, whatever it is. This is when you would do it. Oh. You have a hard time even just you paint this picture.
I just saw like old Yeller, you put a dog down, or like you in a relaxed
you're petting the Labrador.
Like, no.
Oh man. Okay. That's
okay.
how I do it.
Sorry.
I'd be like, Alice, there's just something. There's something on my heart that I've been feeling for the past few months, and I really feel like I need to share it with you. Is that okay? Yeah. What's going on? Alice, there's been this feeling that I've had that feels, although it hasn't been there the entire time, the more that I really sit with myself upon where I'm being true to myself, where I'm not being true to myself. And after just a lot of contemplation, I realized that I can't be doing a disservice to you and myself anymore. I've had this feeling that you and I are not meant to be together. And this is despite literally this great life we've built. And despite how incredible you are as a person. And despite how amazing your family is. And our life is in this house and this Labrador puppy. I know me saying this is literally going to tear apart everything that I currently have. And that is something that makes me wish as if this wasn't a true feeling. But this feeling has just become louder and louder and louder over the past few months, and I can't ignore it anymore. And to be completely honest with you, Alice, I just don't feel as if I'm your person. I don't know why this isn't a rational thought. You are literally an incredible person. But this just isn't right for me. And for me to have this feeling and to not act on it now that I really feel as if it's true would be doing a disservice to everyone involved. If I know that this is a knowing within me, I would never want to waste your time, my time, our family's time, keeping this going when I know that it would inevitably have to come to an end if I ever wanted to honor how I really feel. And so, scene at that point. At this point, she's obviously probably going to be very emotional, asking a lot of questions. The first question is going to be like, how do you know that feeling is right? And how I'd say that is, there are some feelings that you just can't talk your way out of. And I know this feeling is true, partially because I'd rather have it not be. It's not convenient for me for this to be true. Our life is amazing. I've grown to love you. Grown to love your family. I love our life. But I simply can't ignore it anymore. And I understand how painful this is going to be for the both of us. But I know that if it were to continue, only more and more pain will come. Because it would have to be inevitable, and if I ever want to honor what I know to be true. And I have a feeling, I know that me having this conversation is what's going to be best for both of us. And I want to make this as easy of a transition for both of us as it can be. So, scene right there. That is how I go upon it. There's probably gonna be a few more questions that you'll kind of just know the answer in that moment. But make it very clear, this is just a feeling. This isn't anything about them. If you were malicious, if you were trying to hurt this person, you would begin to be like, express the extreme of like, you've gained too much weight. I don't like your hair, your voice, all like the physical things that would make them incredibly insecure the rest of their life. Or if it's something they can't control, like your family, you're this, you're that, whatever it is, you got this going on, whatever. If it's anything, we do not give reasons. This is big for even, Elle kicking people from the walks. In the mind, in this current world, everyone's like, you need a reason before you do things. But you don't. The only reason you need is that it's a feeling. And you're doing your best to honor a feeling. That's it. That's the deepest truth. And that is what's most fair for everyone to hear. So I'm closing that scene there. When it comes to, especially as a man in these situations, doing whatever you can to make this as easy as possible for her or whoever it may be is your utmost priority in life at that moment. Even away from career advancement, anything else, these next few weeks, these next few months, the main focus is making this uncoupling experience be as easy as possible for her in the most respectful and loving as possible. And so asking her, especially after this event, a few hours, a few days later, what she needs from you to make this easier, you do it. And so when I had something like this happen, it was a little more, this was like the girl I dated before, Elle. It was much more mutual than me breaking up with her by any means. If anything, she more broke up with me. It is very much, I'll go in a different story, different podcast, but gray area in that way. But I made sure that like, we had a home together, we had dogs together, all this in Bali. I made sure that my part of the rent, and even I think I did her part of the rent, was paid for until the lease. She had like 4 months just to live. I think it was, both parts of the rent. And as a man, I would do whatever it takes to make sure the least amount of burdens are on them as possible in this situation. I did the best I could with the dogs, the best I could with a lot of other things that was capable at that moment and on my awareness at that moment. Because these are hard conversations to have. This is like, again, we set up to be the hardest one ever. But the one thing I really want to keep in mind here that I did was making sure that it was the feeling that was honored. The feeling was the reason. Because all the things are just our mind trying to find logistical reasons so that we can convince them that they're right, that you're right. There's no convincing in this world. It's just honoring your own feeling and sharing it. and unconditionally loving them, having unconditional amounts of respect and understanding for however they react. If they flip their shit, they start throwing shit in the house, of course, if it gets violent, leave. But any reaction they have, whether they're sobbing, they're completely stone-faced, they're losing it, that is not a moment where they're to judge them. They're simply trying to do the best they can with information they've been given. That oftentimes can feel blindsiding. So that's how I go upon it. That would be the most accurate, authentic way for honestly any relationship to end. Romantically, anything.
Yeah.
Because you're honoring the only truth, which is the feeling. So that being said, I feel like I'm finally in the mode again where I can look back at you. So how did that land as an observer to that?
Zigga, zigga, zow. Wow. That had a lot of energy in it. Isn't it amazing how some universal human experiences are just so like kinetic? Where it's like, I don't know if y'all out there are feeling this, but it just felt like so much energy. You know, it's like in the silence was so loud. It was like, oh my God. I mean, I wasn't even being broken up with, but it felt like I was.
My bad.
No. I mean,
good thing that's the one conversation you'll never have to experience firsthand for the rest of your life.
Blessed and highly favored. But damn, yeah, that was really amazing. And wow. It's funny to notice how I was reacting to it as well, because I actually had my eyes closed. Like, I didn't want the energy to come in.
Smart.
I was like, no, don't absorb it. But even just like the words and the feeling, I mean, it was so loving and so respectful. And I love what you said about focusing on the feeling and not giving reasons. I think this is a big one. I think there is a temptation in the culture right now to be absolutely obsessed with knowing why. Absolutely obsessed with having the laundry list of things that just give us a reason to hate ourselves and beat ourselves up for no reason. We don't need to do that. We don't need to ask for that. And we don't need to give that to somebody unprompted. If they're asking, but why? And I've been there. I was broken up with one time, just a single time. The other ones, well, we can go with that later. And I did that. So like, I'm speaking from experience of like, I know how freaking hard it is to not lead with logic here. I know how hard it is to not ask why. But it is literally like taking a whip to your own back, asking why, because it's not even about you. It's about them, which goes back to the very beginning of this episode where it's like, it's not you, it's me. It's exactly what it is. Ooh. It's the me I am in this relationship that I do not want anymore.
In those vulnerable moments, as the receiver, as the person being broken up with, in those vulnerable moments, that is when the two voices in your head, you become immensely susceptible to whatever else is said of this external person.
Yes.
So in those moments when you are receiving bad news, the darker voice in your head that's always telling you you're not good enough, the program egoic voice in your head is telling you you need to be better here, you need to perform this. All those that we've had our entire lives, that the point of enlightenment is to eradicate that voice completely. That voice is now in the driver's seat, like baiting that person to say something that they can use as fuel for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So in those moments, you are highly, highly susceptible to what that person says.
Yeah.
And the dark voice is asking why.
Yeah.
The dark voice is asking why. It wants to add fuel to the fire. But a why does not matter. Now, most people are not evolved to the point where they haven't watched this podcast yet, where they parentally understand maybe it's best not to ask why.
Yeah.
Because society would tell you, no, ask why, learn why, so you can get better, do something.
No.
That's not the time.
Not in this moment.
Not in this moment.
No.
There's reflection that can happen after that you can ask yourself, why is this happening? In this moment, that's not the case at all. So if this person, in this example where I was the one breaking up with them, and if this person were to continue asking why, I would say, there is no logical reason. It's literally just a feeling. It's just a feeling I have. I wouldn't be here right now if there were a million logical reasons. We wouldn't have created this if there were a million logical reasons. It's just a feeling that I need to honor. So saying something like that, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the same for friend groups, for family, for business in some extent. Again, business a little bit different because there are things that are tangible and need to be done. So let's write those down. If you do these in the next month, you stay. If you don't, you go. But if it's a vibe thing, you can just do a feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've watched him do this same thing in multiple different scenarios. I've seen him do this to a friend when he felt like they were not in the right relationship. That one was fun.
Story for a different time.
I've seen him do this to people who have worked or collaborated with us. I have seen him do this to community members. He is remarkably good at saying this. And I will say, if you even take like one next step out of this episode, we packed a lot of energy into this one. Like this one was palpable. So if you need to rewatch this one when you feel called, it'll always be here for you. But if you take one thing away, it's to practice just saying that it's a feeling. Like, how can we let the logic fall away for a moment and just say decisions off of how we feel? Because no one can argue with a feeling, and you can't really hurt anyone with a feeling because you're not giving them a laundry list of reasons why this is ending or the way it is. And if they ask and you feel compelled to share for their highest good, you will know in the moment where it's coming from. Then we can go there. But what if you were to exercise this muscle, exercise the muscle of feelings-based decisions, body-based decisions, other than coming from the mind? So this was a big one today. My goodness. If you've made it to this point, you are a freaking icon, gentleman, lady, scholar, angel on earth. We love you. So thank you for being here. This one was an intense one.
Value packed.
Lots of energy in this one.
Integrate this after. Take a nice chill afternoon, evening.
Ooh, take a walk.
Sit with yourself.
My gosh. But we're so grateful for all of you, and we are so excited to be back. If anything resonated with you from this one, or anything got clicked into place for you, please share it in the comments below. This episode was inspired by someone commenting on the last episode, and we draw so much inspiration from what you share. So if you have a question, you have an insight, you have something that you're like, I've always wondered how to do this, and you share that with us, we will probably create an episode about it if we feel called. So you play such a large role in this show, more so than I think anybody realizes. We get all our inspiration from you guys. So if you want to comment, like the show, leave us a 5-star review on the different podcasts, anything that you can do to help us grow and to help more people hear this. Like, this is some good stuff. If everybody was broken up with the way that you do, there would be such a more peaceful world. So that's what I personally want. But we love you guys so much.
Send this directly to all the ex-boyfriends of Taylor Swift. Y'all know who they are.
Deliver it to the doorstep. I thought you were going to say send this to your ex, which honestly, do that too.
I'd be a little savage. Maybe vibrationally compatible with them anymore. I wouldn't open that door again.
But imagine getting a text that's like a podcast that says how to end a relationship.
It's the right way.
But anyway, we love you.
Like 2 years later, they're like, so you're over it.
Just so you know. Yeah, but anyway, we love you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Peace.
Bye.